The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you on June 26, 2022. Happy Sunday, everybody here. Kind of a rare Sunday podcast here, I do. Haven't done a Sunday podcast quite a while. But, my kids actually has given me some time to do it. They're actually playing in their room, watching TV, playing some toys and all that. So I want to try to steal about 20 to 30 minutes of some content here, because it's been a while since I've been able to do, do something without interruption and whatnot. So, and I don't want to wait till Tuesday because this is the hard part with summer for me, especially with the kids being out of school. Like typically during the year, when they're in school, I have all day Tuesday to record, and Wednesday, and all day Tuesday, both night and day. And, I'll probably get time on Thursday as well too sometimes and whatnot. I don't like to steal time from my wife because I want to be able to use that time we have together to be together, or be able to use that time to, watch other content I'm watching as well too, like whether it's sports or whether it's movies or whatever it may be. So I'm trying to be more, efficient and more, trying to be more, just trying to use the time I can get without having to use, the important time I need throughout the week. So, and it's made me kind of go back to focusing on, basically refocusing the podcast about how I do content moving forward. Like in recent, weeks and months, I've been very particular on doing shows every day, or at least close every day. And I love doing it. I love, creating content, often. But sometimes, like I said, wear and tear, time, and then I don't necessarily enjoy anymore, like I used to back in the day, going into the weeds of like details and stuff and things that of material that doesn't really matter in the grander scope. When I say doesn't matter, in other words, I like to keep material for the most part that's evergreen, or as close to evergreen as possible, on the podcast, And, that's why I don't mind the space between episodes sometimes, let one episode sit and settle, whether it be a guest, whether it be myself doing solo. So I've always, I've started to have this, kind of like epiphany in recent days that, maybe I should just pace myself with the podcast. I have two shows. I have this podcast I do, which is fairly random. Like I've been doing the show mainly on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Fridays, or recording for Fridays, should I say. And then I have, of course, my wrestling podcast I do with my guys, Mike, Joe, and now Big Jim, on Thursday nights, released on Friday. And that's an hour and a half, 2 hour endeavor, as it is. That's a dedication there. So it's one of those things now where I'm trying to be more efficient. So I've started to refocus back on, being able to do this show, have great guests. Also, and I don't know I don't know actually if I want to schedule either. Like I initially was going to try to do a schedule, and I had started doing that for the last couple of weeks, doing Tuesdays and Fridays. The problem is that when I do a schedule, for me anyway, with my time, and time is not something I have as much as I used to, when you have two kids and a marriage and everything else and work and all that, time is not something I necessarily have. So when you go to a schedule, you start pigeonholing topics that you may not necessarily be passionate about as it is, but you do it because you just need content. You need any kind of content. And I found myself the last couple of shows like throwing in content that I really didn't want to talk about, but I did anyway because I need something to fill in time. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to force feed stuff just for the sake of force feeding stuff. I don't like that. I don't like forcing things like that. So I've had now the last couple of days having to refocus the podcast. I'm gonna go back to what I used to do. Do the show randomly, random. I'm going to try to do this show at least once a week, maybe twice a week. Obviously, I want to be able to have more guests. I mean, I got a lot of guests scheduled up for the next month or so. For example, I got scheduled, I have planned up. So it's one of those things where, like, again, an epiphany came to me recently. Like, what? Just refocus everything. You do the wrestling podcast on Thursdays, one on Fridays, and just build around that. So I'll my goal is my mission, should I say, is to do 2 shows a week at least on here if I could, but don't necessarily force it to where you have to do it on Tuesday or on Friday. Just do it whenever you feel like doing it, and that's kind of the focus I want to kind of be on, these days. And not only that, it kind of mentally, gives me more of a focus and more of a a way to do things. as far as life itself, lately, I've been feeling very stagnant. The thing is, though, is I kind of know that why I'm feeling stagnant. A lot of it has to really, honestly, personally for me, is inflation, gas prices. It's funny, like I don't think people understand that a lot of the mood in this country now, a lot of people's way of reacting and just the way they feel is a lot to do with the outside, and we'll get to obviously the Roe v. Wade in a second. But inflation is crushing a lot of families, and I know in my case, because of that, I personally feel restricted because now with inflation, I said in the last episode that I rent my home, and we just got our renewal, and our rent is going to be going up $400 beginning August. We decided to stay here another year. We'll see how that goes going forward. But because of things like that, because of rentals going up the wazoo, because of gas prices being up the wazoo, because of just goods, groceries, anything being more expensive now. We got to be, like, in my case, I got to be very careful with how much money I'm spending, how much money I'm spending in versus how much I'm taking in and all that. And because of that, it restricts the things I want to do. It restricts the things that I want to do, for my family, And because of that, like, for example, next year, for example, we had plans to go to WrestleMania next year in California. I wanted to take my son, who's turning 10, next April, on the same week, and I wanted to take WrestleMania for the first time. And now, with everything going up in price now, and everything, rent going up, and this going up, and everything going up, I'm not entirely sure we can do that now, because first off, that trip is a lot of money. That's going to be an expensive trip anyway, before we even add the inflation portion of it. And now we have inflation on top of that. Now you have a situation where, like, okay, can we even afford this? And you say, oh well, April's is still another 9-10 months away. But the thing is, though, 10 months is, especially now, it goes fast, man. And you have to start saving for that now. And the thing is, now, when you're restricted on things you can do, you restrict them, money included. We've gone to a point now recently that, because of everything that's happened, we're now paycheck to paycheck now to some degree, because, at some point, all the extra money you would have had, is now going to cover expenses now that you weren't preparing for, because of inflation, because of gas prices, because of this and that. So you've had to make adjustments, So that is why I feel stagnant. That is why, for me personally, I feel stagnant. It was one point where I was considering, stopping the podcast for a little while, because I was so just annoyed, and I was so just, like, trapped and whatnot. Then I realized that I can't do that, because if anything, the podcast, especially this show, is the most, to me, is my escape. Because if I don't have this, then I'm really in trouble, honestly. Because this podcast is the one thing I do have that's mine, that I can actually express how I feel. Because when I do that, I feel much better. So I have, thank God for this medium. You know what I mean? Thank God for that. Because this is an escape for me, that from the hustle and bustle, of life. At this point, the Earnestly podcast to me is a necessity. It really is. But I want to go on vacation. I want to shake things up here a little bit. I love my job, but even my job sometimes, I feel sometimes the physicality of my job sometimes gets to me. Like this week alone, it's gotten to me. And I don't know if it's something I need to consider in the future, like maybe start changing things up there. I have some of my coworkers who actually went away for a couple of weeks recently, and they're living their life, and and it's amazing what they're doing, and I'm seeing the social media and whatnot. And one of my good friends went to the Grand Canyon with his son and his mom, and it was I mean, the pictures didn't do it justice. I mean, it was such a great, just looking at the experience he was having. And, he came back, I think, yesterday. Someone talked about this, but just him doing that, it's like, wow, that's something I want to do. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but I just want to get away and experience life. I'm 42. I want to go out and do more things. My sister is, in Jamaica for her birthday. All week long. And she's having a great time. She's having a great time. She's living life. Meanwhile, I'm here in the hustle bustle, and we're trying to create an environment where we can do these things. But when you have, again, inflation and everything's going up now, it restricts me, and then it makes me feel stagnant. And that's just, to me, it's like what I said 2 years ago when I turned 40. Feeling like the crossroads. To me, this is actually worse, because I recognize the crossroads. I recognize the stagnant nature of my life now. And yet I feel like I can't do anything about it. And that's the worst part. That's the worst feeling, for me. I feel trapped, So I got to figure it out. I got to figure things out going forward. I got to see what I can do, honestly. And, I know for the time being, this podcast is definitely a saving grace for me personally. It really is. But let me say this, though, real quick. There is a positive part, a spin of this for me, at least with my family. My wife is a fucking rock star. My wife is amazing. We have these issues, like I said. I said last episode too that she's now embraced minimalism. She's going nuts. She's actually going through our house now and getting rid of things. We got like bags and bags of things we started getting rid of, like junk to give away, garbage, whatever it may be. She's really embraced minimalism in a way that even I can't even say I went as nuts. But she's actually embraced it now. And she's and not only that, now she's actually figured a way for us to cut costs here at home. Things I didn't think we can do. She negotiated our deal with Xfinity. We know, for example, lowering our bill, our alarm plus our internet here, lowering that by I think about $40 a month. And then she lowered our car insurance by about $70 a month. So we actually was able to save $100 by her negotiating two different things. My wife's a rock star, dude. My wife is the best. And that's the thing. I always tell I need to input that positivity in her, because she when things are always at a crossroads, she always figures out a way to make things work. And I'm so thankful for her. She's an absolute rock star, and I love her for it. So we were able to save money this week by doing those things that I didn't think was possible. She's the best. She's the best. But she's also been very pissed off because obviously Friday, and you've been following the news the last couple of days now. That's 48 to 72 hours. We had the official reversal of Roe v. Wade on the Supreme Court this past Friday. And obviously everybody, if you go on social media, you cannot avoid talking about it. You cannot avoid talking about it at all. And it's all over the place. And in my case, people, I have people on both sides of the fence on the argument, both who are pro-life, pro-choice. I know my wife has been very extremely emotional about it. I even tried to get her to do a podcast with me actually on Friday night after the news broke, and she said she couldn't do it because she can't keep composure. We were talking and she was yelling, and she was yelling and screaming and just angry about it. My wife's I make no bones about that. I'm like politically I'm a moderate, but she's a liberal. She claims that, she owns that, she's a liberal. You know what I'm saying? And it's, to me, like this journey of mine in 42 years of living, I've come to a place now, like, my beliefs on this situation on abortion has been very fluid as I got older. Being raised in the church, I was pro-life growing up, being raised in church, being taught that life begins at conception and that kind of thing, So my journey from going from pro-life to then being pro-choice, I became pro-choice in my late 20s. Like I remember when it happened, it was my wife, myself, and my not her late grandmother who passed away a couple years ago. We were in a car. We were in Port St. Lucie, driving to get food, I guess it was. And they explained to me what pro-choice meant, because to me, when I grown up, when you're taught about pro-choice, you're taught that, oh, you're pro-choice, you are pro-abortion and da 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 da. It's not the case at all. Because even my wife is not pro-abortion either. But the pro-choice, pro-life argument is, I've said this now as I've changed my views on this now. The pro-life, pro-choice argument is littered in intellectual dishonesty. Okay? First off, for me growing up, and this may not be every church, but I know for me growing up, I was taught that pro-life meant zero deviation. Meaning, if you got raped, if incest, it didn't matter. It's God's will. You have the baby. Case closed. It doesn't matter. Pro-life means pro-life no matter what. There's people who say they're pro-life, but then they'll say that, I'm pro-life except for incest and rape. No, then you're pro-choice, because pro-life, from what I've been taught for decades, means zero deviation whatsoever. Incest, rape, it does not matter. And I can't stand by that. I just can't. I'm not, we can have a better argument. To me, the real argument about all this, I'll say again, is viability. At what point is enough time to, if you want to have an abortion, you don't want kids, at what point is it to, how many weeks is it before you should be cut off? Like, my personal opinion, I think 12 weeks is a lot. 12 weeks is enough time. 12 weeks, that's 3 months. First trimester. Most people agree that after the first trimester, you just have to have the baby. Like, because most people, most people, and I'm sure there's special cases where people don't know they're pregnant until like 20 weeks in, but to me, I believe that percentage is very, very, very minute. Most people know pretty much 5 to 8 weeks that they're pregnant. So at that point, if you don't want a baby, you should be able to abort the baby. But it's your choice. I mean, I like the decision you make, but it's your choice. You know what I'm saying? I don't think women's rights also, and the issue I have here too is that as much as I agree with state rights on certain things, because certain different states are different economies, all that, something as important as a human right, a women's right, for example, especially, should not be laid to law through the states. That should always be protected by the federal government. End the discussion. Should be able to live your best life. The same thing with gay marriage. Gay marriage should not be led to the states. That should be people should be protected by the federal system. Okay, living your best life, living your life should be protected by the federal system. To me, that's not even a conversation. Okay, and again, I'm not even an abortion guy. I have 2 kids. Okay, we never had an abortion. We had our 2 kids. We made a choice to have 2 kids, and we had a choice. And we did that. But it's complicated. Like, politicians make it complicated, and that's the problem. They make it complicated, and that's the worst part of this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things to look at too with this too. With Clarence Thompson, of course, being one of the justices who voted for this to be reversed. He's now looking at things now. Like contraceptive being taken off the table now, and possibly same-sex marriage and all that. And he's said this already. Which again, this is the thing I feared from day one. Like in 2016, I said this. I wrote this in 2017. Then 2016, I said this. I don't like Hillary Clinton, but I voted for her because mainly because I did not want Donald Trump to be able to have 2 to 3 picks, Supreme Court picks, to influence the situation of Roe v. Wade being overturned. People stayed home. People stayed home during the election. All Democrats or people were so frustrated with the system at that point that they decided to stay home. Oh, no big deal. Whatever happened. We're here now, and I've been saying this for years now. Elections have consequences. Okay, elections have consequences. Now we're here. If Hillary Clinton gets elected, this doesn't happen. She has Supreme Court picks, and she's likely picking justices who are more moderate to liberal. That's just the bottom line. So if you are a pro-life person, stop. My son's here in the room. If you are a pro-life person, okay, and this specific issue is something you're the most passionate about, Donald Trump just became your greatest president in the history of this country because he had 3 Supreme Court picks, okay, in his 4 years, got pushed through, and this was the icing that led to this, what happened on Friday. Okay, you may not like Donald Trump, but this is really, for him and for people on the right who agree with this decision here, this is their greatest victory here. This is his greatest victory. This is his legacy. So, that's just the bottom line, and that's why I didn't vote for him in 2016. Okay, for this reason, for mainly this reason alone. And all this stuff like what Clarence Thompson said on Friday, it's happening in front of your eyes now. Press has been set now because now that we have this, this being reversed. Who's to say they can't reverse same-sex marriage that just got passed in 2015? Who's to say they can't reverse interracial marriage? Who's to say they can reverse other things? You can't no longer say, oh, no big deal, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. No, this has happened, and now he's saying that it can be on the table now. He's saying that contraceptives is on the table now, so you can't even avoid or even doing the morning pill at this point. That's scary shit. That is scary shit. And again, I'm not an abortion guy, but I'm a women's rights guy. There's a big difference. And I wish people on the right will understand what that meant instead of weaponizing it as a way to, it's about the babies. No, it's not about the babies. Because if you are a pro-life person, you're pro-life for all lives, not just lives that are being developed in the womb, but lives also that do actually exist as well too. And that's the thing that gets me and what bothers me about all this. Now, the thing that really, for me personally, that I'm most intrigued by is this: what is the political ramifications for this now? Because we have midterms coming in November, okay? We have midterms in November, and my prediction is that Democrats are going to get crushed because of the inflation, because of gas prices, all that. It doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden's fault. What we know is that all this has happened under Joe Biden. That doesn't matter. And people who don't follow politics tooth and nail like I do, and others, my friends that do, they see president at a time, gas prices at a time, and they tag that to the president. Doesn't matter if it's fair or not. That's just how people think. Okay? And I said, when this leak happened 2 months ago, and also with the gun control stuff, with the Uvalde shooting and some of the other gun violence that's happened in recent weeks, I was saying that could be the back signal that may save Democrats, politically speaking, in this coming up midterms. But I'm so skeptical because we live in a society now where everything is, 1 minute you have this on the table and then it's gone out of news cycle. Does Roe v. Wade stay in a news cycle enough for where folks who are on the left side of the aisle, who are disgruntled, who are dissatisfied and may not want to vote, in November, will they be engaged enough to come out and vote in November? I have my doubts. And to boot, inflation is still a thing. So if inflation wasn't a thing, I would say, yeah, Democrats have a good chance of possibly, doing well in the midterms. But inflation exists in this plane also too, and that affects the right here, right now, and that's not going away anytime soon. And we're probably gonna have a recession as well too. On top of that, so I have doubts. I personally have doubts that Democrats are going to get saved in the midterms. I don't know. Maybe they save some seats because of this, but I have my doubts. And we shall see how that plays out. But like I said, press has been made here, and this is the scary part now. This is the scary part. So anyway, Bally Sports Plus is a thing now. So you're gonna ask, what are you talking about, Bally Sports Plus? Okay, so you guys know with me and streaming and the NBA, I've complained for the last couple of years that I haven't had cable in years because I found ways around that to watch watch games and things I want to watch of that nature. The one issue I've had recently in the last couple of years is being able to watch Miami Heat games. Now, my dad has Xfinity, for example, and I try to use his to watch Heat games because, unfortunately, Bally Sports is not available for any streaming service at all. It's not available for Hulu. It's not available for YouTube TV, DirecTV. Only Xfinity/Comcast. My dad, unfortunately, does not remember his password, so I'm not able to use his Xfinity to watch the games. I did use my best friend's account for a while, but then he moved out of the market, so I can't watch anymore. So there's no way for me to watch Heat games live. I do, of course, I have League Pass, but again, you can't watch Heat games. First of all, you can't watch Heat games live, starters, because it's in the market because of blackouts. But also, what's even worse is that those same games you can't watch till 3 days after the game ended. Which, at that point, who gives a crap? You know what I'm saying? Now, that being said, Bally Sports has now come with a service now where you're able now, if you're a streamer only, you can actually watch, in my case, Heat games or Marlins games or, anything in your market on their platform. The only thing is that you got to pay money to do it, number one. Okay? So they came out with a pricing tier where you can pay monthly for $20 or yearly for $190. Now, I'm a Mets fan in baseball, so I don't really need, that doesn't impact me at all. Okay? So the Marlins doesn't impact me at all. Like, I don't mind the Marlins, but I don't watch any of their games. You know what I'm saying? So not, other than the Heat would be the only thing I pay for. So I would probably I'm gonna most likely pony up in October. I'll do the monthly here because I only need it for October, November, December, January, February, March, and then parts of April. So 7 months. Okay, and I'll use it for 7 months, and then I'll cancel the service after that when the season's over. You know, so I'll pay $20 a month to watch Heat games because I'm home because I watch pretty much all 82 games they play, pretty much. So I'll pony up $20 a month for that. But the thing is now this is another service now I'm paying for. You know, so how do I justify paying for it? Well, because I'll pay for it because of the fact that it gives me the game I need. Okay, I'm passionate about the Heat, of course, and I'll be able to watch every game I want without interruption now. But then now I'm adding that plus League Pass because I love the NBA in general, not the Heat, but I love the League Pass in general. And it's going to be a challenge now. You know, again, inflation and everything else. How do you justify paying for that? So, but I'm just glad I'm just glad that we have another service now where I can actually use to watch these games. I'm so happy for that because it's the same issue I have with NFL Red Zone. Like for you to get NFL Red Zone every year, and I'm hoping they fix this problem by September, but I don't see anything right now of that nature. Like I've said for years that I would pay $15 a month if they provided NFL Red Zone as a standalone, but they haven't yet. For you to get NFL Red Zone, you have to get the service that has Red Zone on a platform. In this case, it'd be DirecTV, or it'd be I think what's it? Sling. I think Sling still has it. I think also YouTube TV has it too. You have to get the service to get to the tier. You have to buy the service, which is like $50 up front, around there, and then add an additional like $10 a month within that service to get NFL Red Zone. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But I'm hoping at some point the NFL wises up like Bally Sports has, and provides a service where you can buy NFL Red Zone. I would pay $20 a month for NFL Red Zone. You know why? Because look at it this way: you're home all day long, $20 a month. You're paying for 4 weeks. Okay, that's $5 a week of football. $5 a week. I mean, I'm sure people who love football are willing to do that. I mean, a lot of folks pay $400 for 4 months of the NFL ticket. So I'm really hoping the NFL really figures out a way to provide a way to watch NFL Red Zone, you know, as a standalone instead of having to order a service to get to the Red Zone. Basically, so because basically, if you're right now to get NFL Red Zone, if you don't have cable, you have to basically pay $60, $70 a month just to watch one product 4 times a month. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So hopefully they provide that soon. I'm really, really, really hoping so. So, last thing before I go, because I want to take my kids to the pool. The New York Mets on fire. As of this recording, they are 47-26, best record in the National League. They are on a roll. Both New York teams are on a roll, actually. The Yankees are actually on a historical pace. But I don't care about the Yankees. You know, I'm not a Yankee fan at all. The Mets are on a roll. But, of course, if you're a Mets fan, you know that you should be skeptical. You should always have some sort of skepticism because history tells us the Mets will find a way to blow this or lose. But it's been a fantastic season so far. We're now almost halfway through the year, and they're on a roll. But if you remember last year, they started with a similar start to the season. Not as good, but maybe a little slower than this. And then they fell apart in the second half of the year. But this team feels different. This team feels a little bit different. Because, to me, Buck Showalter has changed the culture. You know? And also, for me, too, also, I've looked at it this way. I looked at baseball a lot differently now. I look at it this way. Any series you go into, your focus should be every time, win the series. Win 2 out of 3. If you're playing a 3-game set, win 2 out of 3. If you're playing a 4-game set, at worst, split. And they've lost only 3 series this year total. Okay, I think they split 1 against the Dodgers, who's the team that I still think is the best team in the National League, despite the Mets being doing so well. You know, and you know they've split 1. They've lost 3, and they've won like 18 series so far. I believe something of that nature. You know, now you have also Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. Should be back soon. deGrom has a pitch at lick this year. Scherzer pitched the first first month of the year. He was out 6 to 8 weeks. He'll be back soon. All-Star break is around the corner. I know that there's rumors that Scherzer could come back as soon as this week. DeGrom could come back as soon as a couple weeks after that. Personally, you have this start you had. You're doing this without these two guys. Just hold them out to after the All-Star break. Why rush them back? There's no reason to rush them back right now at this point. I mean, the only reason I would even consider that is because the Atlanta Braves are still being down our neck. And right now, as of recording, they're 5 games behind in first. The Braves are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They, like 3 weeks ago, the Mets were up 10.5 games. And then the Mets they didn't struggle. They lost one series to the Padres, but they slowed down a little bit. The Braves got hot. They won like 14 in a row and gained 5 games out of that, 5.5 games out of that. But, again, I've seen the worst of the worst happen to the Mets. 2007 when they had a 7-game lead with 17 games ago, something like that. And they blew that lead and lost and missed the playoffs. I've seen them, like last year, I've seen them do many things that just crushed our souls. So there's always going to be, as a Met fan, there's always going to be skepticism about how they finish. And there's too much baseball to be played left ahead of us. But the optics right now, the fact that 47-26, okay, with DeGrom, arguably the best pitcher in baseball, hasn't pitched a lick this year. Max Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in baseball, okay, has pitched less than a month, maybe, of baseball. And they're still doing what they're doing. The optics this time feels better. And Buck Showalter has been fantastic. In my opinion, he should be National League Manager of the Year if this continues. So I'm going to enjoy the ride. I'm always going to keep one eye open, though, on everything, on what's going to happen on the back end. Because, of course, I'm a Met fan. I earned the right to be skeptical, because that's what happens when you're a Met fan. But so far, so good. I'm very proud of this team. So, anyway, that's it. My kids are here in the studio. I got to go to the pool. So, again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7. Talk to you guys later. And until the next podcast, we'll talk soon. Later.